These
Quick
cubes
dash,
seem
I see.
terribly
I see.
outdated.
This entire station was created over 10,000 years ago. Much of its technology is antiquated and inefficient. I look forward to updating it.
The original origin of Megatron, as envisioned by the Marvel UK office, was that him and Optimus were both gladiators in the global Cybertron arena, and Starscream was actually the agent of change here, because there were three blanking here. Three Transformers cities that basically were the big ruling points on Cybertron. It was Iacon for the Autobots. Then there was, I'm blanking on names. I am sorry about that, but I think it was Tesk or something like that, where Megatron came from. And then there was finally Starscream's place, which I really can't remember the name of, but which was a sort of criminal haven, to say the least, and he was the leader of the criminal syndicate in that place. And, well, Starscream led an assault when there was a tournament going where the Autobot Overlord was presiding. And he was old and frail, and he had a couple of bodyguards, but once Starscream's forces invaded, it became up to Optimus and Megatron to...
And that you were betrayed. With Dark Energon, I shall return Cybertron to its former glory, and you to yours, if you agree to serve me.
You're a fool! No one can control Dark Energon!
But yeah, the assault killed Overlord's
That was some fancy shooting, if I do say so
Overlord's bodyguards, until only Ravage was left, and Optimus left to get help, while Megatron stayed behind with Ravage to defend him. But realizing how weak the Overlord was, Megatron decided to leave him, because he felt Cybertron was in need of a new rule. And I wouldn't entirely say he was incorrect, but you do know how the Decepticons ended up. In more revised Origins, there's the one where he's...
Megatron, there's a route to the manufacturing plant nearby.
Where Megatron is still a gladiator, but this time he's in illegal underground rings, while Optimus is a desk clerk at some sort of public office. I don't remember this one that well. And they end up with Megatron basically forming the Decepticons in this underground ring, and leading an assault which kills Sentinel Prime, I believe. Just rips him to pieces. And such starts the civil war on Cybertron in earnest. This is the origin where I believe Optimus was named Orion Pax instead of Optimus to begin with, and just took Optimus and later Optimus Prime once he was forced into leadership. Yeah, it was a more interesting, more dark spin, I guess, on the origin story, but the more modern one that I actually prefer, the IDW one, is that
devices for Dark Energon. The ancients constructed special pods that could launch to any parts of Cybertron.
is that Cybertron was a society built upon class. Basically, you were made into a role.
You want the tank? You got the tank!
And you couldn't ascend from that role once you were set to it. You either were working class, and often a very specific part of the working class.
Whose butt needs
Like
kicking?
Megatron was made to be a miner and could really never become anything else under the current rule. Is this guy bugged out? I think he's bugged out, so I have to go around and kill him.
Megatron, according to my scans, the manufacturing plant is directly below your floor.
There's no exhaust coming from that vent! We can blast through to make an entrance!
Aren't you concerned at all driving into the belly of a furnace?
Aren't you concerned that I might tire
Megatron,
of your pointless chatter?
And Optimus was yet again a desk clerk, but this time it was a desk sergeant at the police
Those
precinct.
fans will split you in two. I can't use you if you're dead.
Yeah, Megatron and a friend of his wanted better for Cybertron, a more equal society where people could be what they wanted and could actually advance in life. Actually, I felt his goals were pretty noble, and he seemed like a non-violent guy in the beginning, and I find that to be a more interesting origin because of what happened next.
See you at the bottom!
See, he wrote a manifesto that basically asked for change in Cybertron, and like Optimus said, Optimus actually read it and said that it was a good idea, but it needed some more polish.
Megatron, Starscream is alerted to your presence in the production facility. Expect resistance.
But yeah, and among the leaders of Cybertron, Megatron's views were not at the least bit popular. They didn't want any change to the status quo because that might mean they weren't in charge any longer. And that couldn't be tolerated, so Megatron was arrested. Several times, I believe, but the one that is important is when he was brought in for questioning, which meant torture. And, well, they kept him for several days, I believe, and I think his torturer was actually an early version of Ratbat. And I believe it all ended with them executing his friend in front of him as if to break his spirit, and
Soundwave reactivated it upon
well,
my
he
orders.
definitely
I have
broke,
very
but
special plans for this facility.
he rather became this anger monster that you see in front of you than any sort of weak-willed creature.
Snipers on the bridge, Megatron! Crush them!
And I think the idea of Megatron starting out as a peaceful activist, but being basically forced into the role that he became by arrogant power holders is a lot more interesting than just a guy who decided one day that he was going to start a war. It seems a little more authentic, if you can use that word at all, about a story which features robots that can turn into tanks and the like. Is there still a guy left? Yeah. There we go. Another of these guys. Yeah, things went basically the same from there. Sentinel Prime was killed by Megatron. Optimus had to adopt the mantle of Optimus Prime. And Cybertron was slowly being ravaged to pieces in Megatron's bid to restore it or rebuild it or whatever you would call it.
But then who doesn't?
It was a dark time for Cybertron, but they probably needed a change to the current system, just maybe not quite as violent and destructive as the one Megatron brought. I mean, if there were more like Optimus around, it's possible that change would have come
Once I have
slowly,
enough
but
Dark Energon online, I will
Megatron
use
was
these
tired of
canisters
waiting,
to
so
transport
yeah.
it to Cybertron. The Autobot surprise will be total.